In this video, we will try to understand what exactly is an app domain and in what scenarios we need to use them. If I put a very simple definition for an app domain, we can say that app domain is a logically isolated container inside which our .NET code runs, inside which our .NET DLLs and .NET objects execute. So let us go more in depth into app domain. So here is a very simple console application, and in this console application I have two classes. One is class 1 and the other one is class 2, right? So now let us say I create object of class 1 and I create object of class 2, and I'm loading them into this console application, right? So there it is, right? So in this case now what will happen is when I go and run this application, right? So when you go and run this exe, what happens internally? So internally the exe runs as a process inside the operating system. So when this exe actually loads and runs, it actually runs as a process inside the operating system. So at this moment, this small console application is running as a process inside the operating system, and inside this process we have a app domain by default loaded, and in that app domain both of these objects, that is obj1 and obj2, are running. So in other words, by default there is always an app domain under which your code runs. So in this case, if you see now, we have a simple console application which is running as a process, and inside this process we have a lightweight process, you can say, called as app domain, and inside that app domain obj1 and obj2 are running. Now let us assume that you have got one third-party class. There is some third-party DLL or some kind of a third-party component which you got from internet, right? And you are running this component, right? And let us assume that you have a doubt that this component probably accesses your C drive. So let us say that this third-party component is a reporting component. So a reporting component, you want to go and display reports, right? But let us assume that it is kind of a virus which somebody has posted online, and what this virus does is it says that it is a reporting tool, but internally it goes and it creates a file in your C drive. So let us say that it is using the system.io.file and it is creating a file in your C drive, right? Now at this moment system.io.file.create, right? In case you are new to system.io, right, I would suggest you to go and watch our 30 minutes video where we have talked about how to use files and folders, or I will say how to use the system.io namespace in C#, right? So let us assume that this is a third-party DLL which you have got, and you have no idea that this DLL is doing what, right? And but this DLL is naughty. So what it is doing is it is actually creating a file in your C drive. So now what you want to do is that you want to go and load this third party in a separate app domain, in a separate logical container, and you want to say that what, you cannot go and access my C drive. So in this app domain, whoever loads, they cannot access my C drive. While the other classes, that is class 1 and class 2, are my classes. So I know that they are my classes, they are not doing anything harm to me, but I am doubting about this third party. So I want to now go ahead and load this third party into a separate app domain, which is secured and which says that you cannot access the C drive, right? So you want to load this third party into a separate app domain, and both of these classes can load into the current app domain, right? Now please note that at this moment you can see the source code, right? But remember that if it is a real third-party DLL, then you just have the DLL, right? You have no idea what is inside it. So at this moment I have created the third-party class here, but in real time this third party would be just a DLL, right? And we do not know what is inside that DLL. So I would like to load this third party into an app domain which is secured, and it does not allow you to touch your C drive. And the other two classes I want to load in a domain and in the current domain, and I want them to work freely, right? If you see at this moment, if I do a control F5, what is happening is this third party class actually creates a file in my C drive without any issues, right? So if I go to my C drive, I do see a text file there, right, which indicates that it has the access at this moment, right? So there it is. So it has access, right? So what I want is I want that he should not be doing this, right? So I'm going to go and delete this, right? So for that, the first thing what we need to do is we need to go and run this third party into a separate domain, right? So we should have the capability to run this third party into a separate domain. So let me do like this. I'm going to go and just put here console.writeLine saying that third party loaded, right, in the constructor, and in the destructor let me go and put here console.writeLine third party unloaded, right? Good. So what I would like to do in the first step is I would like to just go and load this third party, and I would like to go and unload this third party, right? That's the first thing I want to do, right? So first thing is, if you want to go and create an app domain, then you have to say your app domain, right? So I'll give a name to this saying this is a secure domain is equal to new, is equal to app domain dot create domain. So I'll just give a name here saying this is a secured domain. So in order to create a separate app domain, we need to go and use the app domain dot create domain command, and this object will not be created over here like this. It will be created now inside the app domain. So now I want to go and create the object of the third party. So for that we need to first get the type of the third party. So I'll say, okay, get the type of the third party, right? And in order to get the type of the third party, we can use the type of command. So I can say type of third party, right? And then I can say that secure domain, please go and create the object of this type. So I'll say that if you see this create instance and unwrap, it says that please just give me the assembly name and the type name, and I will just go and create the object, right? So I'll say, okay, the assembly name is name, and the next thing what it needs is the type name. So third party dot okay, so one is the assembly name. Let me refer my notes here. So full name and full name. Okay, that's more than enough, is it? Okay, fine. So I'll just give you a full name and dot full name, right? So there it is. So you can see now I'm going and I'm creating a separate domain called a secured domain, and in that secured domain I'm loading that third party, and the other two objects will load in the current domain. So if I now go and do a control F5, if I do this, oh, lots of errors. Okay, let's read the errors. What it says that the system cannot find the file specified. Which file? Third party. Okay, did I make a mistake there? Oh, t.assembly. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Something I'm missing here. Sorry, I'm okay. So now let us do a control F5. Yeah, still there is problems. So it says that the class has to be serializable, right? So fine. So I'll go to my third party and I will make this as serializable. In case you are new to serialization and deserialization, I would suggest to go and watch the video in .NET Fundamentals, where we have explained what is serialization and what is deserialization. So now you must be wondering that why do we need to mark the class as serializable? Now remember that app domains are separate logical containers. They are isolated, separate logical containers. So in case you want to go and refer the third party class from the other domain, right? From one domain, if you want to refer the other domain classes, or you want to communicate with them, then you need to do a marshal by ref, and for marshal by ref you need this serializable attribute, right? Okay, so that is good. So if I go and run this, if you see here, now you can see third party loaded and third party unloaded. So you can see now what is happening here is that the third party class is getting loaded into a separate app domain called as secure domain, and our default domain has class 1 and class 2, right, objects, and both of these app domains are running inside our process. That means our .NET process what we have, which is appdomain concept.exe, this one, and this exe is running inside the operating system. So we have the operating system handles the process, or it invokes the process, and the process has two isolated containers. One is secure domain and the other one is the default domain. So with this, now you can see I can go to the secure domain. I can say that, okay, you can get unloaded and loaded, but the other domain can run as it wants to run. So in this way, I can handle these domains independently. So I can give them security independently. In case there are exceptions, I can just close one domain off. I can go and load different versions of .NET DLLs in one domain and different versions of .NET DLL in other domain. So basically, when you have an app domain which is isolated, right, you can go and manage the DLLs which are running inside it in a very efficient way. But now what we want to do is we want to go and say that you can go and run this third-party DLL, but I would like to go and give it some permissions, right? So I want to give some permission sets to it. So you can see now I'm creating a new permission set object here, and this permission set object actually comes from system.security. So I'm saying here, I want to go and give a new permission, right? And in this new permission, I'm saying that you cannot go and access the C drive. So you can see here I'm adding to this permission collection saying that I cannot access the C drive, right? So it's a complete new setup, which I'm going to go and give it to the app domain. So you can see that I'm creating a permission set. I'm saying that I cannot access my C drive. So I'm giving a file IO no access permission, and I'm creating a setup, application domain setup. So I will now go and apply this permission set. So I'm going to go here and I will say that yes, I want to go and apply this permission, right? And I would like to go and apply this setup, right, to this domain. So let me quickly check my notes here in case I'm doing some mistakes. This first one is null. I'm sorry. So it is comma this is null, and this is setup, and finally I think we have the permission sets. Yes, so there it is. So right, so this is the security info, and this is the setup, and this is the permission. So you can see now I'm creating a secure domain, but I'm applying the permission saying that you cannot access this C drive. So what will happen if I do a control F5? It should now throw me an exception saying that this DLL cannot go and touch the C drive. So you can see here it's giving me a permission exception. You can see here it's saying third party loaded. So in other words, if you see here, it has executed till here, but the time he goes and tries to execute this source code, right, he cannot. It says that no, you cannot. And you can see here it says permission type error, right, file IO permission error, right? So you can see now I can go and also apply security to that app domain. So this app domain, secure app domain, will have a tight security, but the other two classes can run happily. So in case I want to go and do that, what I can do is I can put this whole thing into a try and a catch. I can do like this. I can say that try. So try to load this inside this domain, right? But in case there are exceptions in this loading, right, exceptions like file IO or something, then let us please go and unload this domain. So you can see now what I'm doing here is I'm going to go and create this whole domain, right? So I'm going to go and create the domain over here. So I'm trying to go and create the third party object here. In case there are errors, I'm going to go and load the domain, and the other domain just happily stays, right? And in that domain, class 1 and class 2 will run. So you can see here, if I do a control F5, you can see third party loaded and third party unloaded, and you can see the other two classes, that is obj1 and obj2, are running happily. So this is one of the biggest advantages of app domain, that you can go and apply separate permissions. You can go and unload DLLs, from that app domain. In case there are errors, you can shut down that app domain, but the other app domains do not get affected. So let us go ahead and do a quick revision, what we have understood in this video about app domain. So first thing, app domain is a logically isolated container, and in that logically isolated container, you can load and unload DLLs. And if you have some third-party DLLs, you can run that third-party DLLs in a less privilege and the other domains in the normal privilege. And in case you want to run different versions of DLL in every application domain, you can do that. So normally you will never use app domain, but remember that, especially, when you are creating, when you are loading third parties, or when you want to run some kind of a code in a sandbox mode. Sandbox mode means you want to run them in a less privileged mode or in a more privileged mode, then definitely you need an app domain. So I feel that, app domain is such a concept you do not really need 99% times, right? But there are those 1% times, when you really need this. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. In this video, we were trying to understand what exactly is app domain and in what scenarios do we need them. Thank you very much.